It's been more than just myself and a few others who have predicted a defection from the Ohio State wide receiver room with the stack of talent and depth there for the Buckeyes at receiver. And a shoe has fallen here in the last 24 hours. We got Pat Murphy on the line from Bucknuts 247 Sports to break down Ohio State football. The NFL draft, of course, coming up as well. Pat, how are we doing today?
Good. It's an off season, but things just keep happening, right? So staying busy.
Yeah, so Jameson Williams announced that he is entering the transfer portal. And you're talking about one of the top wide receivers in the country coming out of high school. Certainly had a limited amount of playing time, but played well when given the opportunity and really highlighted his career at Ohio State, as it turns out, with a nice performance against Clemson with a touchdown catch and 3 catches for 62 yards in that game that the Buckeyes, of course, moved on to the national championship game. So no surprises, as we've discussed again with you and others concerning the wide receiver position and there being transfers. Any surprise that it was Jameson Williams?
No, not really. I think when Chris Olave announced he was coming back for his senior season, I think a lot of people assumed that there would be an odd man out in that room. Jameson Williams was a guy who was kind of the third starter a year ago for the Buckeyes. Had an opportunity, though not a huge opportunity, to kind of make his presence felt last year, and finish the season. You mentioned the Clemson game, which was his biggest performance, 3 catches and the big touchdown that kind of ended the game, but only 9 catches on the year, 154 yards and 2 touchdowns. Wasn't on the field, I think, as much as he expected. It was a lot of 2 tight end sets, and then obviously Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave. So this spring, I think, was a chance for him to try and figure out what his role was going to be. And what he probably found out, and this is inference on my part, is that because of the talent in Ohio State's receiver room, because of the way they've recruited these last 2 years, he was probably going to be further down the depth chart than he liked. And I imagine there were some honest conversations between him and Brian Hartline and maybe Ryan Day about that. So I think that it came down to, do I want to stay here and, potentially be the 4th or 5th wide receiver? And obviously, he would be given a fair shot to fight for that number 3 spot, but, the talent is just so great. Or, jump in the transfer portal. The NCAA obviously recently announced a new one-time transfer with immediate eligibility. Jump in that transfer portal and, see what options he's got and find somewhere where he can go and play right away and really be a factor, which I think he can be. I think he's a very talented receiver, and I think in most wide receiver rooms in the country and in wide receiver rooms that Ohio State has had in the past, he would be a top 2 wide receiver. It just happens that the Buckeyes have a ton of talent, and Chris Olave decided to come back for a senior year. So Jameson Williams, like I said, great talent, good kid. It wouldn't surprise me if he ends up someplace like a Missouri. He's from St. Louis, so I could see that being a fit. Mookie Cooper, who was a freshman wide receiver at Ohio State, transferred already to Missouri, so that could be nice. But from what I've heard, there are already quite a few suitors across the country that are interested in him. So he will have a chance to kind of pick where he wants to go and find the best situation for him.
Oh, I bet there are suitors out there. Actually, it was just today I saw a number on 247 Sports concerning how many players had opted for the transfer portal, and a component that was first introduced sometime in mid-2018, and the number was outrageous. I don't even remember what the number is, but obviously the great majority of those players are role players who have been pushed way down the depth chart at various schools all over the place, from group of 5 all the way to the top of college football. And so we're generally looking at role players who are just looking for a better fit or a chance to start maybe at a lower level. Jameson Williams, though, would happen to be at or near the top end of the transfer portal in regards to a guy that would have tons of options out there just based on his ability, the scouting report on him coming out of high school and what he was able to show in his brief stints with the Buckeyes. So he's a pretty valuable commodity. And yeah, he's going to land on his feet and be able to, I would think, go to a pretty prominent program and still be a major factor for a team that needs a wide receiver.